Today we are talking about spring knitting patterns. If you live in another hemisphere just like I do, spring is knocking on the door, and so are those lightweight skeins and cotton wool blend yarns we all have stashed at the bottom of our yarn cabinets. So for today's video I selected my favorite spring knitting patterns that I'm itching to cast on this season. Now, to make things a little bit easier, I separated the patterns into a few categories, and those are tees and vests, lightweight sweaters and cardigans, and also some fun other things. Now, where I live, we also have some chillier days during spring, so I've also selected a couple of patterns perfect for those days as well. Now, let's start with our first category, which is tees. The first pattern I like to cast on this season is the Stromboli Tee by Caitlin Hunter. This pattern came out in July of 2024, and it features a mix of cables and lace. This is a bottom-up construction knitted in the round, and you can either knit short or long sleeves. The suggested yarn is fingering weight, 50% yak, 50% cotton, and the designer also suggests you either use a solid or tonal yarn to really make the stitch pattern shine. This pattern is also intended to be worn with 18 to 38 centimeters of positive ease. I really like the sample photos, knitted with a darker color, but I think maybe dark gray is just too dark, in my opinion, for spring sometimes. So I think I would either go for a dark orange or maybe a dark blue would be really nice. Now, the second pattern I like to cast on this season is the Skyline Tee by Tori Yu. This pattern came out in April of 2024, and it is a stockinette stitch tee with a ribbing detail starting at the neckline and going all the way down the sleeves to the hem. This is a top-down settle through the construction knitted in the round, and the suggested yarn is fingering weight 100% merino, but I think I would go for a cotton wool blend just to make it a little bit more breathable. This pattern is intended to be worn with 10 to 15 centimeters of positive ease, and I really like this pattern. I think it's really fun, knitted with bright colors just like the sample. It goes well with everything we have in our wardrobe, especially when I think about some linen pants and jeans that I have. So I think I would knit using maybe a dark pink or something like that. I think it would be really nice and really cute when paired with some jean shorts. Another pattern that grabbed my attention is the Darjeeling Blouse by Trust the Mojo. This pattern came out in July of 2023, and it is also a stockinette stitch tee with a peacock hem and cute little buttons down the front. This is knit bottom up flat, the sleeves are knitted in the round, bottom up also, with satin sleeves and an I-cord front and back neckline. The suggested yarn is fingering weight, 90% cotton, 10% cashmere, and it has no recommended ease. I really like this pattern when I look at it during spring. I think it really has a romantic and delicate vibe. So I think I would also go for a creamy white yarn, something a light color. I think it would be really nice. And now there's a Slipover that I really like to cast on this season, which is the Detroit Pullover. This is a pattern by Sara Ottosson, and it came out in February of 2025, so just a couple of weeks ago. This is a V-neck slipover with brioche stitch and Cara stitch going down the front, and it also features some I-cord finishings and buttons on the sides. Now, the suggested yarn is a worsted weight 100% wool and is intended to be worn with 8 centimeters of positive ease. This pattern is free, so I've already downloaded my copy, but it's not available in English just yet. The designer said that I'm working on an English translator, but it's not yet available. But this is just a brioche, so if you know how to knit brioche stitch and garter, I don't think it would be that difficult to use a translation, or to use a Google translation or something like that. So that's what I'm going with. But I really like this rusty color. I think it looks really nice on top of a summer dress, or maybe with some jean shorts or linen pants. It is not too warm because of the, at least I hope not, because of the V-neck and the buttons on the sides. I think it would still be breathable enough to wear during spring. Now let's go to sweaters. Sweater is my favorite thing to knit, and the first one I like to cast on this spring is the Rota jumper by Irene. This pattern came out in June of 2022, and it has this open, cute stitch pattern, so I think it would be really nice to wear during spring. It is a top-down knitted in the round with drop shoulders and 3/4 sleeves. So you first knit the back, then pick up stitches to join in the round. The suggested yarn is 94% cotton, 6% nylon, Aran weight, and it has also no recommended ease, but the model on the sample is wearing the sample with 42 centimeters of positive ease. I think this is a stunning piece. You can either knit a cropped or regular length, and it will be really cute on top of a summer dress, or maybe with a bikini or a one piece to go to the pool or maybe the beach. So that's my idea so far. Now there's another pattern I really like to cast on, which is the Barbroe Blouse. I can never say this name right. The Barbroe Blouse. This is a pattern by Pernille, Larsen or Knitting for Olive, and it came out in October of 2023. It is a all-over lace pattern with a keyhole opening at the back. It's knitted bottom up in the round with satin sleeves, and the sleeves are knitted separately and knitted sewn in with mattress stitch. Yes, that's the name, mattress stitch. The suggested yarn is fingering weight, 100% merino. It is intended to be worn with 0 to 10 centimeters of positive ease. I really like the romantic look this pattern gives, but I think I would go for a slightly more ease than 0 to 5 negative ease. So I think I would go for either 0 to 5 positive ease, centimeters of positive ease. I think that would be my idea. I don't really like wearing things too tight, so I think maybe I would go for just a couple of centimeters of positive ease. Now, because you can never have too many sweaters, the next one I'd like to cast on is the Lyon sweater by PetiteKnit. This pattern came out in May of 2023, and it is a stockinette stitch sweater with fun cute stripes. This is a top-down construction, so first knit the back, pick up stitches to knit the front, to later join in the round. The suggested yarn is fingering weight held double, or one strand of fingering weight held together with one strand of mohair. This pattern is also intended to be worn with 20 centimeters of positive ease, and I really like knitting stripes. I think it has a potato chippy vibe, because you just want to knit one more stripe, and when you look at it, you almost finish the piece. With those stripes, I think it has many options to choose from, so maybe you can use different colors, or maybe use a fade just on the stripes, so I still haven't made up my mind. But I think it goes well with basic everything, and is a really nice everyday piece to have in a wardrobe. Now there's another sweater that I really like to cast on, which is the Clematis sweater by Maier. This pattern came out in June of 2023, and it is a stockinette stitch piece with a button placket going diagonally down the front. It is a top-down construction with a slight drop shoulder, and sleeves are also knitted in the round. The suggested yarn is fingering weight plus one strand of mohair, and the fingering is 100% wool or 90% cotton and 10% cashmere. This pattern is also intended to be worn with 5 centimeters of positive ease. And I also have a yarn in mind that I like to use for this project. It is a fingering weight, and I don't think I will be holding one strand of mohair together to knit this piece. I think I would just go for one strand of fingering weight. I think it is a sock yarn, but I'm not sure. So maybe I'll have to do a little bit of math to change things a little bit, because I will be knitting with a different gauge, but I think that's fine. It is just a stockinette stitch. I don't think it would be that difficult. I'm not sure. I think it is an everyday piece with just a little twist to make things more interesting, but you can see there are buttons going down the sides starting at the shoulders, so I think maybe I would sew some of those buttons closed, like permanently closed, just make sure that I'm always covered and I don't have to worry about any buttons coming undone. Next up is a wrap. I've never knitted a wrap before, so I'm really excited to cast this on, and the pattern I'm talking about is a Cara wrap by Clow. This pattern came out in November of 2024, and it is a stockinette stitch wrap knitted top down with satin sleeves and an I-cord edging. So like almost all Clow's patterns, it has a lot of options. So the pattern comes with short and long sleeve options, and also the body length, it is adjustable, and the pattern also offers bust and waist shaping. The suggested yarn is fingering weight held together with one strand of mohair, but I think it's also fine to use just one strand of DK weight or no mohair at all. The suggested ease is 0 to 5 centimeters of positive ease. And one of the samples is knitted using black yarn, and I really like that idea. I think it looks very fancy and chic, so I think maybe I would go for a black wrap. I think it would look really good. But maybe a tonal yarn would be nice also, because it's just a stockinette stitch, so I think the yarn would really shine. I don't know, that's just an idea. Now let's go to cardigans. There are 2 cardigans that I really like to knit, and one of those is the Montrose cardigan by Cheryl, Mokhtari or Coco Amor. This pattern came out in November of 2023, and it is a top-down cardigan. I almost said sweater. It is a top-down cardigan with sleeves knitted in the round, and it has a button band knitted in double knitting. The suggested yarn is a DK weight held together with one strand of mohair to get the Aran weight gauge, and one of the suggested yarns is Camero's Snefnug, which is a 55% alpaca, 35% cotton, and 10% merino. This pattern is also intended to be worn with 21 to 41 centimeters of positive ease. Now, I think I'm biased when I say this, but when I look at this pattern, the only thing I can think of is this is the cardigan version of the traveler hoodie. I'm knitting a traveler hoodie right now, so that's why I say I'm biased, but I really think this looks like the traveler hoodie, and I love the traveler hoodie, so therefore I love this cardigan also. Now, I think it would be really nice to wear during those chillier days, especially in the mornings. It's really easy to put it on and take it off if it gets too hot. So I think it would be a really nice thing to have as an option for this spring. Now, because I can never seem to get tired of knitting her patterns, another cardigan I like to knit this season is a Daily Stripes cardigan by Veronika or Veronika Lindberg. This pattern came out in October of 2024 and is one of the patterns included in her book Knits to Wear. This is a top-down construction with drop shoulders, a really relaxed fit, and a V neckline, and the button band is knitted in double knitting. The suggested yarn is DK weight or worsted weight held together with one strand of mohair, and one of the samples was knitted using double Sunday, Sunnets Garn Double Sunday, which is 100% merino wool. This pattern is also intended to be worn with 20 to 30 centimeters of positive ease, and I really like the stripes. I already have a yarn in mind that I like to use for this project, so I think I would go for beige, a light beige, and a rust or maybe dark orange color for both stripes. It's really easy to wear during spring. If it gets too hot, you just take it off. So that's my idea so far, and I really like to have this option for the spring. And there's another sweater that I forgot to share before, because I don't think there's such a thing as having too many sweaters, and this is the Poetry Pullover by Sara Nordlund. This pattern came out in December of 2023, and it is an all-over lace pattern knitted top-down in the round with a circular yoke. The suggested yarn is fingering weight held together with one strand of mohair, and the sample was knitted using Knitting for Olive 100% merino plus one strand of mohair. And this pattern is also intended to be worn with 9 to 13.5 centimeters of positive ease. This is one of my dream knits. I always want to cast this on. Every season I say I'm going to cast this on, but it never happens. So let's see if this one is the season I finally get to knit this piece. I think it has a really delicate and romantic vibe, so I really like that for spring. So this pattern has its own little family. So there's the Poet pattern, which has just a stockinette stitch sleeve and raglan shaping, but there's also the Poetry. I don't know if it's called the Poetry or not, but it's something like that, which is knitted with just one strand of DK weight and no more hair, but it's also a all-over lace like the Poetry Pullover that I like to cast on. And there's also the Stripe Hype sweater by Veronika Lindberg or Veronika. This pattern came out in May of 2023, and it is a top-down construction with drop shoulders and a twisted rib with a little pop of color. The suggested yarn is DK weight and no more hair, so it's really good because of the different color stripes. I think it's really good to use as a scrappy project, or maybe if you have just one skein of yarn. And this pattern is intended to be worn with 20 to 30 centimeters of positive ease. I really like these stripes. I think it gives a really fun vibe to this sweater, so it's perfect for spring and summer. And it is also a potato chippy type of project because of the stripes. And I think I already have the yarn. I think my idea is to knit with just one strand of fingering weight and no more hair, so I will be changing the gauge, so maybe I'll have to do a little bit of math with this pattern also, but I think that's my idea, and just a stockinette stitch. I don't think it would be too difficult. Now I think the sock bug also got me, so I selected one sock pattern, which is the Hello Sailor sock set by Summer Lee. This pattern came out in January of 2021, and it is a set of 4 different sock patterns. So the socks, from what I understand, are knitted top down, so cuff to toe, and you can either knit a heel flap and gusset or an afterthought heel. 3 of the patterns are intended to be knitted with fingering weight sock yarn, and one pattern is the suggested yarn is a fingering weight plus one strand of mohair or just a DK weight yarn. Now there are 4 different patterns, so you have rib, cable and pearl motifs, which I find really fun. It's really nice to be able to play with colors and motifs to make your own pattern. So that's why I chose this set. And I think my favorite one is the cable motif. So I think that's the one I would cast on first. Now, because sometimes I just want to take a break from all the garment knitting, I select a little accessory, and that's a shawl that I think would be really nice just to take my mind off all the sleeves and body and stitch counts and everything. So the pattern I'm talking about is an Italian spring shawlette. This is a pattern by an Italian knitter, or Francesca if I'm not mistaken, and this pattern came out in March of 2024. It is a shallow triangular shaped shawl with eyelets and garter stitch. You start knitting at the tip, so it's really easy to adjust to the amount of yarn you have and the size you want your finished piece to have. And the suggested yarn is fingering weight, but the designer needed a few samples, all using Knitting for Olive. So there's one with a cotton wool blend, the cotton merino base they have, which is a 70% cotton, 30% merino. There's also one with 100% merino, and a third one with Knitting for Olive pure silk, which is 100% silk. This pattern is also free, so I've already downloaded my copy, and I just think it's nice to have something to be able to wrap myself in during those chillier days when I'm at home by my desk. So I think it would be really nice to have this as an option, and just to make things a little bit fun and stop knitting garments all the time, because that's what I tend to do. So that's my idea so far. Now, because I talked about a lot of patterns and I don't have enough time to knit all of those during just one season, and I will have to pick just a few to knit during this spring. So I think maybe I'll start with the Cara wrap and one of two sweaters, but I really like to cast on the Stromboli tee and the Skyline tee. So I don't know, I still haven't made up my mind, but that's where my head is at right now. So if you want to check out what I end up knitting during this season, feel free to subscribe. I post regular podcast episodes here on the channel. So feel free to stick around and maybe we can share our knitting journeys. I think that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you next time. Bye!